Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever HCA For Your Consideration panel.
I'm Tessa Smith.
I'm Shadan Larki.
I'm Demetri Panos.
I'm Yong Chavez.
I'm Jana Nagase.
I'm Yael Tygiel.
And we couldn't be more excited to be kicking things off with the cast of Ted Lasso. Before we begin, we at the Hollywood Critics Association would like to take a moment to thank the team at Apple, as well as the team at Strategy PR for making today's event a reality. So to kick things off, we have Brendan Hunt, one of the creators of Ted Lasso, who also plays Coach Beard. We have Jeremy Swift, who plays Higgins, and Nick Mohammed, who plays Nate the Great. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thanks, Scott. That's a lovely intro.
Yeah. Ooh,
thank you very much.
Yeah, lovely. Great to be in there at the beginning.
Yes, we're super excited to have you. So what we're doing today is we're going to have various members of the Hollywood Critics Association, the Ted heads, the fans of Ted Lasso ask majority of the questions, but I'm going to kick things off. And I want to start off with, what was the audition process like? We'll start with Nick.
Well, the audition process for me was that I actually went up for Higgins. Obviously didn't get that because Jeremy was too good, and quite rightly got that. And then a few weeks, if not a month, kind of went by, and I got asked to do a self-tape for Nathan, and I remember being very busy on another job and had to do it in my lunch break. And in hindsight, I probably appeared very arrogant because I don't even think I did 3 of the scenes that they wanted me to do. I just chose one and did that and sort of submitted it and thought sort of nothing of it. And then a couple of weeks later, I found out I got it, and it was the best decision ever. That I the most wonderful news ever. It turned out to be just the most incredible show to be a part of. So yeah, I was very grateful.
Awesome. How about for you, Jeremy?
Well, of course, there are 2 sides of this story, and Brendan, on being on the other side, the creative side, knows the other side of us being cast. But it was a kind of standard thing that I had. I met a casting director, the lovely Theo Park, and went in there and did some scenes and waited to hear. I have to say, initially I thought, I really like this character, but I'm not quite sure what to do with him. And I said that to my agent, and she just said, "Swift it." I sort of thought, I don't know what that means. So I did that, and then I waited. I thought it had gone, and then my agent said, "Oh, you're in the mix," and then I was like, "Ooh!" And then it happened, and yeah, I was just so incredibly excited to be on board. I've always wanted to be in a kind of American scripted American sitcom, and it's a dream come true. So yeah, amazing journey to it.
All right, last for you. I know, like, you're a co-creator, but what was it like casting yourself in this show?
It's a real pleasure. I should do it more. Frankly. Ooh, I've never had a more pressure-free audition process. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to me doing it because I had been in the commercials and was one of the creators, so I was likely to be involved from the beginning. But just to button what these guys just talked about, and when Jeremy's audition came in pretty early, as we were looking at a bunch of Higginses, and it was one of those where everyone in the writers' room goes like, "Oh, well, that's the guy. So there you go," because it's one of the auditions that just hit the ball out of the park, which is a baseball reference. Nick and Jeremy, those are baseball terms, just so you know. It's fine.
I'm gonna write that down.
And Nick, yes, did only one of the 3 scenes, but I was actually already a fan of Nick because I'd seen his show in his one-man show in Edinburgh in 2007, I believe. And so when I saw his name come across things, I was predisposed to be like, we have to pay very close attention to whatever this guy's going to do, because I got a good feeling. And yeah, he only did 1 scene. It was clearly in his dressing room. It was clearly hastily done. But Nick doesn't know how to do comedy badly. So that too was a home run, which is a different way of saying the thing I said before, guys. Baseball term.
Thanks, Brendan.
Uh-oh.
Oh, sorry. I unmuted the wrong mic. So I'm curious. I would like to know how you are like your character, and we can start with Nick.
I think I'm. That's quite difficult, actually. I definitely think I'm more confident than Nate when you first meet him at the start of the season. I probably have about his level of confidence by the end of season 1. I mean, because he kind of grows. It's sort of difficult to put my finger on it, but yeah, I'm definitely more confident than him. I think he's got some. I can't give anything away, can I, for season 2? But I think, yeah, he's definitely got a lot of qualities that I can relate to, particularly in season 1. You know, he's yeah, he only sort of speaks up when spoken to in the first instance, but then starts to grow in confidence. And so yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Maybe particularly when I was a bit younger. Yeah.
How about you, Jeremy?
I think I'm not quite as much a pushover as Higgins. My daughter often says, "Oh God, Dad, can't you be more like Higgins and just accept what I'm saying?" I think I am quite accommodating. I am a bit of an idiot. That's about it, really. Oh, well, a little bass, yeah.
How about you, Brendan?
Well, I think Beard has seen a little more of the world than maybe he needed to. That's probably true of me as well. And just as Beard, when he gets a call from Ted, he answers the call and jumps to England to do it. Basically, the same thing happened with Jason. He called one day and said, "We got this thing in England. You want to do it? It's crazy." Like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. So, yeah, I stand by that path.
Hi, everyone. My question is for Brendan. I was curious, as a co-creator and a writer, how did your relationship with the cast sort of influence the development of characters?
I guess it was most influenced by the fact that I was immediately a fan of all of them. Like we'd been writing these characters for a while, and then you cast them, but they're in another country, so you're not fully meeting them yet. And then once we got to England and started watching people work, it was like, oh no, all of them are amazing. They have that English actor ability to really bring reality to the comedy and to easily change lanes from the comedy to anything that might be a little more weighty. They're incredibly off book, which I'm not, and half the time I wrote it. So yeah, basically just as we became more fans of the cast and had a better recognition of what their exact qualities were, it just became even more of a goal to write for them better and write to their strengths even more, and to their quirks and what have you. So yeah, becoming a fan, trying to make it better.
Hey, folks, I guess that will be up to me. I have a question for Brendan to kick things off. With Ted Lasso being such an emotionally great show, every emotion is so well earned. It being, whether it's laughter, whether it's crying, people crying. I wanted to know, because what was the tightrope balancing act? Because at any given moment, it could have fallen off that tightrope and become too schlocky, too hammy. How did you know? And how did you work out the script to get that right note of emotional impact?
I'm not sure that we did know. I think we just went about to write the best thing that we could. And we just kind of naturally gravitated, partially due to having a really, a good writer's room. We just naturally gravitated toward a bit more reality. But I do think that on some level, it's because we knew that the premise was insane. And if the premise is insane, you have the option of just going straight down that road then and staying there, or counterbalancing it and trying to bring as much, reality as possible to surround the premise. And so I think that's what we ended up doing. And then, yeah, just led us down this path of, sort of emotional resonance with people, not just who are these people, but why are they the way they are? And that proved to be, yeah, rich ground from which to draw.
Well, you found it, so thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're-
Hi, this was for Jeremy and Nick. With the success and accolades that season 1 received, what was it like coming back to set for season 2?
Do you want to go, Nick?
You go, Jeremy. You go.
Okay. Well, one of the things was this thing that's going around, COVID, and we had that to deal with. So, and we did have a big chat from Warner Brothers about that before we started, and I got a little bit kind of a little bit emotional and said, look, I want it to be really so great, and how are we going to do that now, and you know, we'll, you know, what was going to happen. And Brendan leaned in and said, we've got to realize that it's going to be anticlimactic because you know, you have to have a reality check. It was a great reality check, but you know, once we got over the fact that we had to wear masks all the time apart from acting or eating, it became the norm, you know, and we still found the scenes, we found the reality, we found the fun stuff. So yeah, we just got on with the job, really, just trying to make every moment work, every scene work.
In terms of the critical response, I just remember feeling everyone just, there was a time when everyone was just sort of going about with a slight spring in their step because we were just so almost excited about the audience seeing season 2 off the back of then, you know, just knowing that lots of, you know, season 1 had resonated with lots of people. I think that there was, as much as COVID was a real, you know, antidote to that excitement to a degree, it was, you know, obviously everyone was kind of flying high in terms of spirits and stuff. And yeah, but you know, good, very, very lovely atmosphere on set for sure.
Hello, I'm Jana Nagase. That question is for Nick and for Brendan. The series has a very diverse cast, and I would like to know how is the importance for you, Nick, to be part of a project like that? And for Brendan, how is the importance to cast, like have a diverse on the cast?
I think that's a really interesting question. I think largely that the true indication of equality in terms of representation in casting is when you can cast, say, a person of color, for example, but their story isn't about being a person of color. I think that's a real true indication of that things are heading in the right direction. And, you know, Nate could be, you know, he could be any color, and the story isn't about him being a person of color or anything like that. And I really love it for that. I think that, as I say, I just think it's a sort of step in the right direction. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for people of color sort of telling their stories, and there is sometimes a certain authenticity that comes with that type of storytelling. But I'm equally also for, I don't know what the actual, so is it sort of color neutral casting, I believe is a phrase, and I'm all for that, because, you know, that for a while, you know, and you'd have to go back too far if you're a person of color, you know, particularly if I look at sort of some of my old castings, you know, you look at the names of those people and they're all kind of, you know, I don't know, Mohammed, Ahmed. It's like, you know, there's and the types of parts, you know, you can slightly, you know, you could sort of predict what those parts might have been. It's great to just be a guy called Nathan in a show. You know, it's just really great, and it is a step in the right direction. I hope I've said the right thing there. I mean it all in a very good way. But yeah, I was an honor to be a part of the show, and yeah, it didn't really sort of come into question that I was a person of color in it, really, you know.
And for you, Brendan?
Yeah, you know, London is a particularly diverse city, and football is a particularly diverse sport, you know, and for us, it's just a matter of, you know, looking like those worlds. I mean, I ended up kind of feeling after season one, like, were we diverse enough? So I really appreciate the question. Thank you. But yeah, it's just, it's not so much having to be diverse or anything. It's just trying to look like the world is, as faithfully as possible.
Great.
Hi. So Ted is such an uplifting character and is known for his lessons and mottos like believe. Is there a Tedism that you have personally taken and added into your own life?
Being curious and not judgmental is a really good life lesson, I think. Like I try and, just even saying that to my kids. I mean, it absolutely is such a great message. Very simple, but yeah, that's the one I've definitely taken from Ted.
Anyone else?
Yeah, that one too. What Nick
Sorry,
said.
I got in there really early.
Yeah, I'd say that's my favorite too. But there are a couple in season 2 that I think may rival it in terms of being in my pithy aphorism jukebox.
Great, can't wait to see it.
Hey guys.
So I am curious, Brendan, working with Jason, just getting to work with him on camera and also in writing, how does that work? Like, what's your dynamic with him?
Well, sure. I mean, first of all, you have to be very patient because he's insufferable. Well, I was trying to make Nick spit out his water there. I got real close.
Yeah.
No, it's a pleasure. I mean, I feel like I'm friends with the entire cast now, so it's I'm working with friends all the time. But Jason and I've been friends for a very long time. So to be able to have a project that's enjoyable, that is so is striking such a chord to people, but it's with someone who I've known for so long. It would already be a special experience, but that just heightens it. It's really close to being an actual dream come true. Except in my dream, it was a different friend than Jason. So this will do.
Hello again. My question is for Jeremy. I'm a huge fan of Downton Abbey, and famously in that show, you also kind of play the right-hand man to a boss lady. Yeah. So were you worried about the two characters being too similar? How did you find those nuances to make him different and not fall into old patterns?
Oh, no, I think there's a very different dynamic in Downton Abbey right from the get-go. The idea was posited to me that he was Spratt was like an avatar. Quite often, people in that service industry in that time echoed the characteristics of their boss. So, but now there's a real hierarchy with Higgins and Rebecca. Certainly, initially, they become friendlier during, by the end of the season 1. But no, I did get right from the first episode that they were quite different characters. Higgins is more of a kowtowing character.
Yeah, it was fabulous. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Hey everybody. Okay, so I have a casting question because I love these stories, these little happy accidents. So, like, I didn't know that Nick, you were originally going up for Higgins. Jeremy, were you up for any other role, or were you specifically Higgins?
No, it was just Higgins. But apparently, Phil Dunster went up for Higgins as well.
They had so many people going up for Higgins. So
what the hell?
So Brendan, instinctually, because you're part of the casting, so you find Jeremy and you're perfect for Higgins, and I think everybody was perfectly cast to the point where, no offense, Nick, I just couldn't imagine now after watching the first season, Nick as Higgins. Like you each own your characters, but Nick, do you ever go up to Jeremy at any time and just go, I wouldn't have played it that way?
Oh, God, no.
I had it so differently.
Imagine if I did after every scene, I give him a lengthy load of notes.
Yeah.
No, not.
Even when you weren't in that day, you'd just be at the monitor going, sorry.
This is how I would have done it. And Brendan, instinctually, like, how did you know? So you see Jeremy, he's Higgins, and then you're a fan of Nick already. How, like, what was it that you didn't want him for another play? You thought Nate the Great is Nick. And yet, so instinctually, was that instinctual, or did you just feel that's way better for him to do?
It was two things. Like, I think we saw Nick's Higgins auditions after we'd seen Jeremy's, and Jeremy had crushed it. But I think also for the one-man show I'd seen, and again, it wasn't a one-man show, but it was a showpiece. I'd seen in Edinburgh of Nick's. What I'd remembered of that and of the sense of it was I just thought that he would particularly nail the role of Nate. And Nick, I don't know if you recall this or what, but at first we wanted you to read for it, and your reps were like, he reads for roles like that a lot. Actually, he's not interested in doing something like that. And we were like, this sounds like a rep speaking for their client as opposed to them, because he should do this show. So we pushed through, and thank you for deigning.
Oh, I did a like a panel with Theo Park, the casting director, and with Bill Lawrence, and we were talking about it actually, and actually there was it wasn't by no means combative like that, but there was an element of, because I was doing intelligence and I had obviously played sort of like a quite sort of shy British guy to David Schwimmer's quite American, sort of bombastic. There was just a question sort of, I mean, the parts are so different. There was a question of, is it going to be quite a similar thing? But I mean, as soon as we read the scripts and saw the subject matter was totally different. It wasn't even, didn't come into question in the end. And I'm grateful for that.
All right, my next question is for Brendan. There are other shows, of course, that deal with some of the core messages of Ted Lasso about hope and kindness, but the show really felt so genuine that it became a source of inspiration to so many during the pandemic, me included. But which message resonated the most with you?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I do know that, in terms of other shows having this inspirational message, one of our goals from the beginning was to make the London set Soccer World comedy version of This Is Us. And I think we got there. So that feels good. No, I think, really the believe sign, and what that entails is the thing for me. We make a bit of a meal of this notion where, in Rah Rah America, we're like, do you believe in miracles? And in Gallows Humor England, it's more, it's the hope that kills you. But I think it's a little more fun to just stupidly fly into things and think it's going to work. And of course, there are pessimistic Americans and there are optimistic English people too. It's not as simple as that. But blind belief, and that's kind of the way to go.
I think that the way that you guys really dealt with it, it's what made it more, effective in terms of reaching people. And so that's really wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm back. So that's for Jeremy and for Nick. What was like the most challenge part to bring those characters together? If you have any challenge.
You go first, Jeremy. I'll have a think.
I haven't thought of anything yet.
I'll jump in. I think the most challenging thing, because I knew, I think when we started filming, I'd seen maybe the first 3 or 4 episodes. But Jason, Brendan, and the writing team had sort of explained to me about the sort of trajectory of Nate's journey, and I just remember thinking, well, it's over 10 episodes, and I'd actually, because the tradition over here with sitcom is you do sort of 6 episodes, and 10 was the most that I'd ever done on one particular show. So just being able to kind of pace the kind of growth in confidence a little bit. Of course, it was all there in the writing anyway, but I just remember telling myself, because it was over quite a long shooting period, and you're not always sort of shooting everything completely in the right order, just sort of trying to remember exactly kind of being in the mindset of where that sort of, where that journey was going, and also what had happened just before it from a story point of view, and where you're kind of heading to afterwards.
Anything for you, Jeremy?
I still haven't really thought of anything, but I suppose
That's okay.
I suppose the thing is with things that are quite a number of episodes, is just keeping on top of it, scene by scene and action by action, and keeping the credibility of the character and making sure that that it rings true, even if it's a step in a strange direction. It is just sort of making sure that it seems credible.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
My question is for Brendan. As someone who is behind the scenes and on screen, what are some of the challenges or benefits for seeing both sides?
One benefit is, knowing where things are going a bit more than most cast members do. So when there are questions about why a particular beat is happening, I'm there to help, which is a great feeling. But then the flip side of that is, trying to, do a good job of acting and being in this character, but I'm thinking of 100 things that are going on around me because, it's also my job to be aware of everything. So those are conflicting missions that occasionally go to war inside me. But then the other issue is just that Beard talks a little, and I'm someone who so easily, stares out the window while the teacher is lecturing, that a lot of times I just space out. I don't have a line for a whole page, and then I'm supposed to say, "Yup." I've missed a few cues in my time, is what I'm saying. Missed a few cues.
That's the best answer of the evening.
Well, I just want to say thank you so very much again for coming in and doing the first panel with us to end this wonderful panel. And thank you all for your answers. They were great. There's been so much positivity around this show going into award season, starting, back in January of this year. For each of you, if you could just close it out with, what was your favorite comment or reaction that you each heard from this show?
There was I think an Esquire, no, not Esquire, GQ, maybe GQ piece about the show. I think it was GQ, and Sarah Silverman was asked about it, and I've got huge respect for Sarah Silverman, and she was talking about how we are doing comedy and something a little bit weightier, and I believe her exact quote is, "They're walking a tightrope and it's fucking fantastic," or something along those lines, and that was a feather in the cap. I slept well that day.
All right, how about for you, Jeremy? Nick?
I just think I can't really sort of pick out one thing, but just the fact that, on Twitter, that there's just so many people who've found it a real balm in the last year, for just, thousands or millions, I don't know, many people who've been in isolation, and it's been tough, and they've found this show really helpful because of its warmth and its positivity, and that's just so great. God, that's just brilliant.
I was going to echo that completely, really. And also just some people, it seems crazy in a way because it's fiction, right? But people genuinely getting in contact to say, we're tracking, particularly just with Nate's journey, when they've said that it sort of helped them, kind of build their own confidence and things like that. I take no responsibility for that. It's the writing and the show, but just the fact that a show can have such far-reaching far-reaching impact in such a positive way. And you think, wow, that's, yeah, it's just wonderful. I mean, you know, to hear that and yeah, just to have that reaction on Twitter just generally, it's just really, really lovely. And then just occasionally when a celebrity, you know, that like, I forgot the name, what's that brilliant soccer player, Alex, who did the dance, who did the Ted Lasso dance. Yeah, of course, yeah. And that was just incredible. And that's like art imitating life, imitating art, imitating, like, you know, it just endless.
Well, thank you very much again. Brendan Hunt, Jeremy Swift, Nick Mohammed, Ted Lasso, for your consideration. Emmys all the way, HCA TV Awards all the way. Let's go. Excited. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Scott.
Great question.